everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm so happy to have you guys here today. Today we have another Dollar Tree DIY. We're going to make these two projects here, and we'll go over the supplies for the first project first, just to help make it a little bit easier to follow along. So first we'll be making this wall hanging using some of these galvanized metal clouds from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to be using some of their yarn. I'm going to list what colors I used in the description box below. We'll need one dowel rod, some scissors, a paintbrush, and something to write with. We're also going to need a ruler, and then you'll need some hot glue, and you'll need either some sandpaper, or I'm just going to use this emery board from the Dollar Tree, and then some paint. The colors I'm going to use is coral pink, the white chalk paint. I'm also going to use this light mocha and granite gray. So let's get crafty. So first thing we're going to do is take our large cloud, and we're going to take the hanger out just so it's out of the way. And then we are going to cut down this dowel rod. I only had an extra large one, so I just marked where I needed it to be cut off at and score it with the scissors around the edge, and then just wiggle it back and forth, and it pops off really easily. Then just to smooth out that end, I'm just going to use that Dollar Tree emery board that they sell. And now we're going to take our yarn, and we're going to use 7 different colors. We're going to cut 10 pieces of each color that are 6 feet long, and we're going to fold these in half. And now we have all of our yarn cut, and we're going to start putting this on the dowel rod. So to do that, you're just going to fold one piece of yarn in half, so you have them 3 feet long, and then you're going to loop it behind the dowel rod, and then just pull the ends of the yarn through that loop. And then you just want to keep working all in the solid color. So I'm going to do all of the gray first, and we're going to keep sliding those down until we get almost to the very end of the dowel rod. Now, if you're afraid they're going to slip off, what you could do is just put a tiny little dot of glue on the very end of the dowel just to hold the yarn in place, but I didn't find that part necessary. If you just be careful, they won't fall off the ends. You just want to slide it down as close as you can to the edge and just slowly work your way down. Now, you do want to make sure that you have it nice and smooth across the top of that dowel. That's going to help them hang nice and straight and even without overlapping and getting tangled very easily. And now we have all of the yarn on our dowel. And if you need to, just go ahead and comb down through those with your fingers just to make sure you have them nice and straight. And if you do them nice and slow and make sure you just slide them together without bunching them up, you'll have a nice smooth top, which will help them hang straight. As you can see, I cut them not so even. I had some helpers, so they weren't completely even. So we're just going to trim the very bottom with a pair of scissors. Make sure you have a nice sharp pair of scissors. And all I did was hang this over a piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree just to help hold it straight while I cut the edges off. You could also cut these at an angle if you like. So now we have the bottom all trimmed, and what we're going to do is figure out where we want to glue this to our large cloud here. So I wanted to do it across like the widest part of the cloud because I'm going to overlap this with some of the smaller galvanized metal clouds that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. So we're just going to use some hot glue to glue that right to the center here of the large cloud. I will set that aside for a few minutes, and then I'm going to paint some coordinating paint colors on the edges of the smaller clouds. This is just to help them stand out. I noticed that the clouds themselves were kind of losing their shape and dimension against that larger cloud in the back since they're all the same color. So this was just to help differentiate between each cloud to give them more of like a layered look. So that's why I chose to paint the edges. So again, I'm using a coral pink, granite gray, and mocha. And then for the large cloud, I'm just using white. It might take 2 coats depending on how thick the paint is. So now just using some hot glue, I'm going to go ahead and layer the smaller clouds on top. Now when I painted the trim around the smaller clouds, I didn't paint them all the same direction. So they're cut exactly the same, all 3 of them. So what I did is I flipped the one that would be in the center. I flipped that upside down so that the cloud, the larger or the taller part would be on the opposite side of the other 2. So they didn't look exactly uniform all the way across. So now to even up that bottom edge there with the smaller clouds, we're going to make some pom-poms. I'm just going to use the cream color yarn that I had on hand that I used for the yarn that hangs down from the cloud. And I wrapped this around my finger about 25 times. And then all you want to do is bunch it up in the center and tie that with a piece of yarn. So once you have that tied off and gathered together in the center, you just want to cut the loops. So you have these little strings hanging off, and then just keep cutting and evening, making it even all the way around. So you have these little pom-poms. Doesn't have to be perfect as you're going to glue one side down, but you do want them all about the same size. So once I had enough to go all the way across the base here, then I just start gluing those on with some hot glue. And this part's optional. You don't have to do this, of course. Always make it your own. You could use any color yarn that would match your home decor. These are just the colors that I like together and I thought would look pretty together all on this little decoration here. And then I just added a hanger at the top that matched. And that is it for the first one. It's all done. And now we'll go over the supplies for the pillow that we're going to make. So first of all, you're going to be needing the same color of yarn. I'm going to use 7 different colors. Again, those are listed in the description box below. We're going to use one of these crochet hooks that you find over by the hair accessories. And this is what it looks like out of the package. We're also going to use one of these roller cutters, and I'm going to be needing a straight edge or a ruler of some sort, some scissors, and then we're also going to need a t-shirt just as material for the backing. And then we'll use one of these no-slip rugs. This is what's going to be our backing for the pillow here. And then we'll need some filling. I'm just going to use filling from a Dollar Tree pillow, and you will need a tapestry needle and something to write with. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace out our rainbow. So I'm just going to do straight lines. What I did is I did 25 squares down and 3 squares across for each row of the different colors of the rainbow. I actually only did 6 to start, so I didn't cut my floor mat big enough, which you'll see at the end of the video. I actually had to add some to it to create the pillow because I had to go back in and add 3 rows or the color I accidentally left out. So I did cut this a little bit small. So just make sure you plan it out a little bit better than I did to start with. So then I'm just drawing out the cloud as best I can with a Sharpie. And this is just as a guide. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, you know, when you're putting in your yarn. So if you ever did one of those hook latch pillows as a kid, this is where I got the idea. When I saw the hook and I saw the floor mat, it just kind of all came together and clicked. So what I'm going to do is I have to cut the yarn. So I just wrap it around 4 fingers. I did 50 times around, and then when you cut those in half, you end up with 100 strands of the yarn. And my cat is helping. Whenever he sees yarn, he just absolutely loves it. So he's helping there, as you can see. So you just want to cut that in half, and then you'll cut those right in the center, and you'll end up with 50 strands. Or 100 strands, I'm sorry. And then just even up the edges. You want them all about the same length so that they don't look weird when you put them in the bottom mat there that we're going to hook them on. You want them all about the same size so you don't have some really long pieces and then some shorter pieces. So this roller color worked really well to cut the edges off there and get them about as straight as I could get. They don't have to be perfectly the same size. You just want them as close as you could get them. And then you'll do that for all 7 colors. As you can see, I still didn't realize I had left a color out, so I only had 6 done here. And then we're going to start attaching these to our base. Now at first, this isn't as stiff as like a normal hook latch pillow kit. You know, it's just a no slip floor mat. And so it's a little bit difficult at first to get it started. But once you start getting more of the yarn in it, it starts to weigh it down a little bit, which really helps to get it to stay down and to be able to pull the yarn through. So all you do is you take one of those pieces of yarn, you fold it in half and wrap it around the hook. And then you slide the hook underneath one of the squares. You wrap the yarn around the hook and then you pull. And as you pull it through, that little hook slides up and it helps to attach it. So basically they're being attached the same way that we attach the yarn to the dowel rod. You're just using this tool to help you do it because the spaces are so small. So I ended up doing the first row with the mauve, and then I went in with like the rust color. And then I thought it would be easier really just to start at the bottom and work my way up so I didn't have to keep readjusting all of the yarn. And that seemed to work a lot better. So as you can see, I started working from the bottom up and I just kept working across the rows. So now I'm just finishing the last 2 rows of each color here. And as you can see on the right there, the gray, I'm really close to the edge, so I didn't really have enough room to sew a backing on for the pillow. So all I did to fix that mistake was I took another piece of the floor mat and I cut about 10 rows and then just overlapped it on the bottom. And it's kind of sticky, so it just pretty much stuck together. And then I was able to attach some of the top pieces for the cloud through both layers of the floor mat, and that was enough to hold the 2 layers together so I would be able to use it to create the pillow. So for the pillow, my suggestion at the very top there at the cloud, my suggestion is to do the outside of the cloud first. Just you can kind of lay out the pattern. It's not as easy to do as the rainbow part just because the stripes are straight down and you do want to get more of like a cloud shape to the top. And since you're just kind of doing it freehand with just a little bit of Sharpie to guide you, you do kind of want to do the outside of that just to help you figure out the spacing and all the different dimensions for the cloud. And then to help fill in the cloud a little bit more full, I ended up putting 2 strands of yarn on each square. So I did those actually both at the same time. It really helped to fill it in and just make it a lot more full and fluffy like a cloud. So now we're going to turn it into a pillow. So what I'm going to use is just a gray t-shirt from the Dollar Tree. And you can either use some yarn or just some tapestry yarn. They sell that as well. And then you will need a tapestry needle. I actually picked those up at Walmart. I think they were like $2 for a whole pack. So now we're just going to cut down the side of the one shirt. And then once we have it cut down the side, we turn the shirt over. And then we're going to lay the pillow or the mat for the pillow here that we're going to make down. Just to make sure we cut the backing large enough. And then I basically cut it from like underneath of the armpit all the way across to the next arm. So now you're just going to move the cloud and the pillow or the rainbow over for a minute, and we're going to fold this inside out so that when we are finished with the pillow and we turn it right side, it'll have the correct side of the material on the backing. So then take your cloud and your rainbow mat that you just created, and you're going to lay it face down on this shirt. So now taking your tapestry needle and your yarn or your tapestry yarn, you're just going to start sewing up the side edge as close as you can to the last row of yarn that you attach to that floor mat. That will help when you stuff the pillow not to have a bunch of the rows of the underlying mat showing. And you're just going to slide the needle up underneath of the square and just loop it around. It's a very simple stitch. And then you go all the way up around the cloud. Make sure you're following that cloud as much as you can so that you have some different shapes to it and it doesn't just look like a blob at the top. And then work your way back down the opposite side. Now you do want to leave the bottom open so that you can stuff it. So before we stuff it, what we're going to do is we're just going to turn this to the right side. And then make sure you put your hand up inside the pillow and fix the top there at the cloud. Some of the pieces need help being pushed out all the way. So I had a little bit too much of the floor mat at the bottom here, so I'm just going to trim that down. You just want to leave a few rows at the bottom. And then take all of that yarn that you have at the bottom and you're actually going to fold it up away from the bottom just to help you sew the backing of the shirt together once the pillow is stuffed, and that way you can fold the yarn back down over top of it and it really helps hide where you've connected it. So just taking some stuffing from an old Dollar Tree pillow. They have like those little tiny pillows that they sell off and on throughout the year. They just had some out. So I actually bought one of those to use the stuffing, and one was actually enough to fill this. It's not a super large pillow here and I didn't want it really full. So again, you just want to push that yarn up away from the edge. And then we're going to fold over the shirt and then fold it over one more time so we have a nice clean edge at the bottom. And then we are just going to sew this close. You want to take your needle and just go underneath of the last row of the floor mat there. And then once you go underneath of it with the needle, just grab some of the material from underneath of that folded section of the t-shirt and sew across the back there. And that'll help hide the thread that you're using to sew it up here on the back. So you don't want to go all the way through the material. You just want to catch some of the material from the backing. And then just work your thread all the way across the bottom and then adjust the stuffing in the pillow since it's kind of pushed up away from the bottom so that you could sew it closed. You just want to readjust it and fluff up your pillow so it looks right when you're done. And the this is the pillow all finished. I love how it turned out. I thought these were really fun, a little bit different of a DIY to do this week. And then they also have these really cute cloud mirrors at the Dollar Tree that they have out. And you can also purchase these decorative knobs for like dressers and things. I thought that would be really cute all together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Check out some of our other DIY videos. We post those every Thursday, and I try to always use as many items as I can from the Dollar Tree. And then we post videos every single Friday to show you what is new for the week at the Dollar Tree. And I try to go to at least 4 different stores each week to show you everything new that I can find. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll check out some of our other videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you if you have done that already, and I hope to see you back tomorrow for our Dollar Tree video, and I hope you all have a great day.